Welcome. These will be my thoughts on The Flash, Season 1, Episode 20, The Trap. The episode is rated TV PG, so will this video be. There will be spoilers for the Arrowverse leading up to and including this episode, and another episode that I absolutely loved. So, since it is Pride Month, and the episode doesn't lend itself to that much of a reading, I am going to recommend a Pride-themed YouTube video instead. Jammy Dodgers... J.K. Rowling won't like this. And, I don't know, I guess I could briefly talk about... I'll start with the deleted scene. I think it's plural. And then I'll briefly talk about Singh, Captain Singh. But yeah, so basically, the deleted scene, best I can tell, as usual, cut for time. We have the, let's see, it's that... Yeah, I guess maybe it is just the one. We have, let's see, the Wells over Barry's unconscious body before he woke up, and Caitlin, has turned down this really great for her career job that Wells, gave a recommendation for. And he says something about, that it's he doesn't want her judged by the company she keeps, and she talks about how, well, you're trying to save someone you don't even know, so that makes you a wonderful person. And yeah, really helps underline just it is such a complex thing. Right now, I can't quite recall if... no, I think it is in the episode itself, not a deleted scene, where he talks about how there had been many times where he wished that he would have Barry at his mercy, like he does there, but now he's going to have to help him create him. And just wonderfully comic booky. Just, yeah. I guess, is that really the only one? I'm trying to think. Yeah, maybe that was the only deleted scene, actually. So, briefly on Captain Singh, I continue to really appreciate that they are, in both this and Arrow, let's see, I guess it's all, at least most of the time when we have an LGBTQA plus character and or relationship, it's not treated as something that is like strange. It's just, yeah, they are human beings and they might have relationships, with some with each other, some with cishet people. It's not a big deal. It's, really working to normalize it. And let's see. I mean, really, the way that they're talking about the wedding, and then this thing of like, but that's where my fiance works. It plays out essentially the same as if Singh had been a straight man instead of not straight, then if he was talking about like, the woman I'm about to marry, is planning the wedding and is difficult, and that's the building she works at, yeah, it would have played out basically the same. And yeah, it was made at a time when it was appreciated that it was really important to normalize, and I'm starting to repeat myself, so we're just going to move on. I'm going to try to keep the rest of this as chronological as I can. So, yeah, now that I've seen the entire episode, that first scene definitely plays different. So, yeah, like, genuinely, the reason, at least part of the reason that the AI is going along is because Wells wanted that to happen. He knew that it was just a matter of time. He knew that they were figuring all this stuff out. And so he made sure that it would be, yeah, that it would say and do those things. Because, yeah, just, yeah, really, really well done. And I guess that does pretty much cover the, yeah, and we have, they note the entire, yeah, all these details about the newspaper. I love that Cisco is just like, this suit looks cool. Really focusing on the important details. I think it's Kate who notes the date, which rhymes, and right now I forget who, but one of them points out about the name, Iris Allen West, hyphenated. She had to go and get her name hyphenated. And I appreciated the way that Barry, for the rest of the episode, is really extra awkward around her because of that. And yeah, I think that does bring us to... So yeah, they escape before Wells gets there. Although right now I'm trying to think, could he have known they were in there? Maybe he has a device that lets him know, so that he was making sure to move just slowly enough so that they would leave, but not... Because also if he gives them too much time in there, it might feel like, wait, is this a trap? And, because, yeah, I can't help but notice Gideon did not tell them that Wells had been watching them. Because I feel like that's the kind of thing, I don't know, maybe they needed to jailbreak Gideon for that to happen, but, if Gideon's trying to be as helpful as possible, that would probably be a good thing to tell them, and I feel like that's Wells programming it to, yeah. And, let's see, yeah, I love that we see the shadow on the wall, very atmospheric, as Wells wheels himself towards the... Yeah. And I think I just want to very briefly note, I would not be making... I feel like me phrasing it like that, Wells wheels, might be insensitive if we didn't know that he is not actually, disabled. He does not need a wheelchair. Otherwise, it would not be. Anyway, yeah, and so they talk, including with the cops, and yeah, the thing about the let's see. Oh, actually, right now, forget when it is that Joe learns... Oh, wait, is it only Joe in that scene? Maybe. Is Eddie not there? But yeah, compelling when Joe realizes about the last name. And, by the end of the episode, it is completely confirmed, that he is a descendant of Eddie. Now, I guess that does pretty much... Yeah, appreciated that they just do a little bit of bringing everybody up to speed, for the audience's benefit as well. But it is also a conversation. It's not one of those annoying expositional conversations where it's like, everybody saying and hearing this already know all this. No, like, genuinely, this is when Barry tells them about how he time traveled, because, let's see, Wells knew, but they didn't. Wells specifically said not to tell anyone else. And yeah, this is when, let's see, I think it was Joe who didn't know about the dreams that Cisco had been having. So yeah, very nicely done. I feel like that brings us to the... Let's see. Yeah, that's when they... And that's when they start talking about the lucid dreaming, which it's also just such a cool idea to, because like, we know what lucid dreaming is. By let's see, 2015. You know, I feel like the mainstream. If you told a person on the street, you know, do you know what lucid dreaming is? They would almost definitely say yes. They might precede that by, who are you and why are you talking to a stranger? But they would say yes. I do believe that. And let's see. Yeah, this idea of, so they can communicate with him, and that, yeah, and so they talk about it, and then Wells overhears just randomly, It's not at all that he knew because of the surveillance, just. And yeah, like there's so many scenes that make so much more sense now. He's always showing up just as they're saying something, just, yeah. Now, I think that does cover, yeah, and he tells them, what was it, like 45 hertz or something? You know what? I'm having my birthday soon. I can tell you, 40 hertz already. Now, let's see. That does bring us to the, yeah, what was the other thing? We have that part where they go over the... No, yeah, that's when we see them actually try to put it into practice, I think. And this is so great with the thing of like, so the Joe going, so that's how you turn them off. And then when Cisco's, I love this shirt, I thought the dryer ate it, and Joe like barely able to like stifle a chuckle. I want to play poker with Joe if that's how bad he is at hiding. Now, I think that does... Let's see. Yeah, and I really love the way that Cisco points out is this. Oh, and also yeah, I think it's this scene, the Back to the Future reference. The Marty Polaroid, fantastic. And then he says, "Is this Inception or Dreamscape?" Which, like, that is an important question to answer, and they don't really. And yeah, that was very, very nicely done. Good bit of tension there. And I forget, is it around here that we have Joe's flashback maybe also? And yeah, we can understand why he blames himself. And yeah, him suspecting Wells from the start. Yeah, I feel like that brings us to... So yeah, they now they feel like they can set a trap, not realizing that this is actually... He set the trap for them. Just really, really clever. And I think that does bring us to the... Oh, right. I appreciated the thing about, Cisco put a bug on the wheelchair, which I guess also he maybe knew about then with all the cameras and all. And I think, yeah, and him saying, and if he isn't actually who we think he is, it's gonna send me straight to... Does he say the word, or maybe he just says heck? I forget. How much can you get on the TVPG? I guess when you're using it as like just describing, he's not like trying to curse or something, but yeah. And the I think it's around here that, yeah, so Eddie talks to Joe, and yeah, it is very understandable both that Eddie is upset at the repeated no's, because the no's knows, and that Joe says no. And you also do have that flashback where Iris says that she does silly things like agree to a date with, Detective Pretty Boy when Barry isn't there. Now, that I don't love this idea of like, these silly women folk. If we men weren't around, they would just be making so many mistakes, especially romantically. But I do also appreciate, it is acknowledging that one can get swept up in the moment, in the romance, as Joe puts it about Iris, and that's like, we also know that Iris is very smart and capable. So it is underlining, hey, you can be both of those things. And that is, of course, also important. Like, we also don't want to get, this show was, when this show was made, they already knew that, hey, we, if we are just saying, well, women can be as good as men, because they can also be ice cold, action heroes who kill a bunch of people and don't even care. And it's like, I mean, then you're saying that the only way for a woman to be good is if she is like a man, and that's not particularly healthy. So this is saying, it's also like, this is a show where the men also have flaws, so yeah. Now, the, let's see. I wonder if I kind of, part of me wishes that, it's probably not the case, but that there is like an outtake where Joe, instead of just saying, no, you do not have my blessing, launches into the same speech that Jack Bristow gave. Now, I think that does pretty much get us to... Yeah, so Eddie asks it's Barry to try to find out about, why Joe said no, which also rhymes, and maybe that's why. And, says that he hopes to make her Iris Thawne. And then Barry says, I have a feeling she's going to want to hyphenate. And I guess that does... Let's see, there's at least one more thing I really wanted to say about that bit with the... Yeah, and Iris shows up, and, she's like, well, there's something really important to tell you. And yeah, later, she knows that... I mean, we knew that, but now Barry also knows that she has determined that it is connected to Star Labs, all the metahumans. And very clever of him to say, well, it can't be, because I don't have superpowers. But that one's also really gonna sting. I do think before the show is over, she's going to have learned that. And yeah, he lied right to her face, looked her right in the eyes, and just, yeah. I also really like, Eddie, we see how nervous he is because he says, I want to talk to you away from Barry and Cisco and Dr. Wells and Captain Singh and random people on the street. And then Joe's like, so you mean like alone? And yeah, genuinely, the trap, it seemed really clever. And of course, like, yeah, if it's every man, then how is that? Obviously, it's not going to stop. And I didn't even think about it, but yeah, we don't actually see the hand vibrate. We just see it raised in the air, and because of the lucid dreaming and all this, yeah. Right. Also appreciate by the end of this episode, they don't quite know how he could possibly be seeing it, but I have a feeling we're going to find out. I'm looking forward to it. Now, I guess that does... I feel like there's one more thing before the trap, but I can't quite place it. Oh, right, the fire, yeah. So the Wells points out, the biggest detriment. The only person who can stop Barry Allen is himself, which, yeah, they've done a really solid job of demonstrating that up to this point. Like when he lacks confidence, when he's confused, when he's overeager, like it is true that, yeah. So very nicely done. And yeah, the thing about like, no, you can do this. You just have to believe in yourself, which is also a good thing to teach. Yeah, TVPG. So hypothetical children watch this episode. Believing in yourself is really, really important. Now, I guess that does bring us to, yeah, and Wells, this manipulative. He says, if there's anything, just, wow. And I guess that does bring us all the way to the trap. And, yeah. Caitlin saying, oh, yeah, Cisco, he's in the bunker. I don't know. He didn't say what his conclusions were. Just something important. They really thought, and so did I, so did we, everyone watching, everyone not watching, believed, completely bought into, yeah. And he's just like, maybe I'll just scoot on down there, see what he came up with. And, she uses the thing to tell them that he's on his way. And let's see, I guess that does bring us. Yeah. So so Barry and Joe are nearby, and they're hoping for a confession, but it's not quite enough. And yeah, it is actually a little bit interesting. So every man has been getting people, arrested that, I mean, hopefully by now have been exonerated, because certainly Barry gave the evidence. But yeah, a bunch of people who, said that it couldn't have been them, and yet they were, believed to be guilty. And now every man is not quite giving in and giving this confession, which, yeah, every man's just real good with avoiding incrimination. And that's, of course, at first I thought, oh, maybe it doesn't stop a speedster if they're not using super speed, but no, of course, the reason that, I guess at this point I almost have to come up with different names. So there's original flavor Dr. Wells, who died 15 years before the show so far is set. We have Eobard Wells, and now we have Every Wells. And Barry manages to stop several bullets, but not that last one, and it's lethal. And then the body changes back, and Wells just calls them, just, yeah, incredible. Absolutely loved the, yeah. I guess that does, yeah, and he talks about how, they will face each other again. And then, Barry realizes about the surveillance, including of Iris, and Joe calls Iris, and Eddie thinks that, that could ruin the romantic moment, and just, yeah. And like, Eobard Wells doesn't even say no, he just, like, not the best timing. And yeah, like, I thought he was there for Iris. Because I kind of figured, like, okay, yeah, they're related, but, like, does he think someone's gonna hurt Eddie? I know he has a dangerous job, but still. But no, he was there for Eddie. And the bit with the ring being grabbed. See, at first, I actually thought for a second, could that be, like, Barry grabbing the ring to just make sure that he doesn't, not because he's, like, gonna refuse to let it happen, but just, to make it more likely that the two of them will be willing to leave there quickly, because he knows that Ebard is after. Yeah. Anyway, I think that does bring us to the. I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to say before I stop recording. Let's see. Yeah, I do really appreciate the way that so with like Kate is still skeptical, but she does accept certain things. She is no longer trying to have a conversation with Wells. She accepts that this must be real, and she is very actively working with the others to help get the confession. And that was also I they really did a great job on making it hit, because there were several seconds there where I genuinely thought, yeah, this is it. Like, is he not? Maybe Barry's not going to be able to get a confession, because I was maybe thinking, could there be time travel? But it didn't work out so well last time Barry tried that. So I love that we are not through the first of, I want to say it's like 9 seasons total, and Barry has time traveled once actively, and we know that there, at least unless it changes, will be more time travel in his future. And just, yeah. Let's see. In fact, like, part of his origin story involves the time travel, because otherwise it would have happened at a different time, as Ebard has noted. Now, I guess that does pretty well cover. Yeah, I love the idea that, yeah, because, Cisco turned on the field, so it stops Barry from getting in there. That's, yeah. And, yeah, I can hardly wait to see what's next in Ebard's master plan. And I feel like there's one more thing. Okay, I'm just mentally gonna real quick fast forward through the episode to see if there's anything. I really appreciated Barry talking to Joe and being like, I don't know why I'm saying this, but why do you not give your blessing? And let's see, I believe that does pretty much cover. Yeah, and Joe says, I know she has feelings for you, even if she can't, quite process them or something right now. And let's see. Oh no. So there's a flashback where there's like, it looks like static electricity. We can buy that for all this time, ever since that happened, she just thought, static electricity. But now that it happened again with Flash, she knows that's Barry. And I wonder if they're going to do that thing where he goes to great lengths to keep her from, because Oliver Queen was, the prime suspect of being Arrow, and he found a way to avoid. Or if this really is going to, because that could really change the relationship in multiple interesting ways. I already talked about how he's been lying to her about that for a while now, and it's also this thing of like, well, Flash has saved Iris, so and let's see, I guess that does pretty much cover everything. I genuinely am not sure where she would land if the next episode is her, not being, tricked into thinking that it's not really Barry who's the Flash. But yeah, it was very, very clever of Cisco. The thing with the Before it was supposed to keep them in, and now it keeps speedsters out. So it was worth it. He worked it. He flipped it and reversed it.